Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that could literally change the trajectory of your entire life. Okay, picture this. You sit down for just 5 minutes to unwind, and suddenly, boom, you look at the clock and realize you just lost 3 hours to the TikTok algorithm. Or maybe you accidentally binged half a season on Netflix. We've all been there, right? We all have hobbies, but let's be honest, most of them just pass the time. Well, today, I'm going to reveal 7 incredibly rare hobbies that go way, way beyond basic entertainment. We're talking about activities that actually rewire how your brain works. They build ironclad discipline, sharpen your mind, skyrocket your creativity, and ultimately give you the exact skills you need to completely set yourself apart from the crowd.
So, it really comes down to a tale of two paths. Look, it makes total sense that most of us naturally gravitate toward gaming, scrolling, or binging. Why? Because they give us that instant dopamine hit. It's a quick, easy fix. But here's the crazy part. By choosing that easy path, we're totally ignoring activities that provide what we can basically call delayed superpowers. When you opt into these rare hobbies instead, you become sharper, significantly more disciplined, highly creative, and frankly, just incredibly valuable. Now, yeah, sure, these take a little bit of time to develop, but think about it. If you stick with even just one of them for a year, you're going to develop skills most people never will. It's all about trading that cheap, instant gratification for an absolute unfair advantage in life.
All right, let's jump right into part 1, sharpening your mind.
So when it comes to learning a new language, most people just want to, be able to order food on vacation without sounding foolish. But based on our source material, that's actually the smallest benefit. The real advantage, it's what it does to your mental hardware. Every single conversation in a new language literally forces your memory to work overtime. You get significantly better at recognizing patterns. It cultivates this super rare habit of actually thinking before you speak, and it unlocks a totally new cultural perspective. Actually, get this. Research shows that bilingual brains literally have denser gray matter. No joke. In a world where almost everyone speaks just one language, having 2 under your belt instantly makes you more valuable. Not just professionally, but mentally. It is a heavy-duty workout for your brain.
Now, our second hobby is chess. And look, I know at first glance, a lot of people just completely dismiss chess as, well, slow and boring. But beneath that board is literally one of the greatest mental training tools ever created. In chess, every single move has consequences. Every mistake teaches patience. It absolutely forces you to think several steps ahead. But here's the so what. Here's why this actually matters to you. After you play enough games, you stop reacting emotionally. You start making your decisions logically. And that mindset, it effortlessly carries over into your real life, your business, your schooling, your relationships. Because success often belongs to the person who thinks ahead, not necessarily the person who moves first. Chess trains exactly that muscle.
Moving right along to part 2, mastering self and surroundings.
All right, our third hobby is journaling. And right off the bat, we need to completely debunk the myth that journaling is just a diary for writing down your feelings. It's so much more powerful than that. See, writing forces your racing thoughts to just slow down. Instead of carrying dozens of chaotic ideas bouncing around in your head, you place them onto paper where you can actually physically analyze them. And over time, you start noticing the patterns, right? Your bad habits, your excuses, your hidden fears. Your journal literally becomes a mirror. And in life, people who truly understand themselves almost always outperform the people who don't. Self-awareness isn't just some corporate buzzword. It's genuinely one of the rarest competitive advantages you could ever develop.
Which brings us to our fourth hobby, and this one is all about external awareness, photography. And no, photography isn't really about the fancy cameras or dropping thousands on expensive gear. It's really about training your brain to observe what everyone else completely misses. You learn to study the harshness of a shadow, the fleeting micro-expression on a person's face, or the perfect composition of a crowded, messy street. The more you practice taking photos, the more fiercely observant you become. And eventually, you start paying that exact same level of attention in your everyday life too. You begin to notice hidden opportunities, subtle shifts in body language, small mistakes that others just gloss right over. Observation is a highly underrated superpower, simply because the people who notice more usually make much better decisions.
Which brings us to part 3, the power of expression.
It is a totally wild truth about human nature that public speaking is often feared more than death itself. I mean, think about that. And that is exactly why public speaking is our 5th rare, incredibly powerful hobby. Every single speech you give builds undeniable confidence. Every presentation teaches you how to meticulously organize your thoughts, and every audience you face makes you that much better at influencing people. The ability to communicate your thoughts clearly, that's going to open doors for you that raw talent alone never, ever will. Why? Because ideas on their own don't really change lives. Communicated ideas do.
And this brings us to our sixth hobby, learning a musical instrument. Playing music is essentially a full-body workout for your brain. Think about it. In a single second, your eyes are reading sheet music, your ears are tuning pitch, your hands are executing these crazy fine motor skills, and your memory is pulling up chords, all at the exact same time. Very few hobbies activate so many parts of the brain simultaneously. But honestly, perhaps even more importantly, it teaches the ultimate lesson of consistency. Nobody, and I mean nobody, becomes good at the piano or the guitar overnight. Progress here comes from tiny, microscopic improvements repeated thousands of times. Once you truly grasp that principle through music, you kind of stop expecting instant success in every other area of your life.
All right, on to part 4, borrowing decades of wisdom.
For our seventh hobby, we turn to reading biographies. Look, most people learn from their own mistakes, right? But that default path is super expensive, it's painful, and it eats up literally years of your life. But highly successful people, they read biographies. They prefer to learn from the mistakes of others. It's cheap, and it compresses decades of lived experience into just a few hundred pages. You basically get a front-row seat to see exactly how the greatest minds in history handled failure, pressure, rejection, and massive setbacks. So instead of paying the heavy price of making those mistakes yourself, you just borrow the lessons from people who already paid the bill. Experience is expensive, guys. Borrowing it through a biography is honestly the ultimate life hack.
And finally, part 5, the long-term payoff.
Okay, here is the radical truth. Day 1 for every single one of these hobbies is slow. It's deeply frustrating, and sometimes, let's be real, it's entirely boring. None of these are wildly exciting the moment you start them. And you know what? That is exactly why they remain rare. The vast majority of people will just quit before the real benefits ever appear. They'll run right back to the instant dopamine of scrolling or gaming. But this frustrating barrier to entry, that's exactly what creates the unfair advantage for the few who actually push through.
Think about it. If you commit to just one of these rare hobbies today, whether it's chess, a new language, or picking up a guitar, in 6 months, you will literally think differently. 1 year from now, you will actively act differently in your day-to-day life. And a few years from now, well, outsiders are going to look at you and just call you naturally talented. They'll see your iron discipline, your crazy observation skills, and your deep self-awareness, totally oblivious to the fact that it all started with a simple, quiet, frustrating hobby.
So the ultimate question I want to leave you with today is this: which unfair advantage will you build? We've explored how you can sharpen your mind, master your awareness, project your expression, and borrow decades of wisdom. Look, the instant gratification loop is always going to be there, just waiting to steal your time. But you now know the 7 rare hobbies that actually move the needle. Don't try to tackle all 7 at once. That's a recipe for burnout. Just pick one. Embrace that slow, frustrating day 1, stick with it, and start building your unfair advantage in life today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I absolutely cannot wait to see what you master first.